We're building outside the U.S. very rapidly, given the opportunities we see. But we're not going to go kind of off-piste and try to chase shiny things this year. There's no room or time for that with this kind of environment.
In terms of, you mentioned CBDCs is on your radar. In what regard, how are you helping out with that?
Absolutely. We have an interesting approach. We realize we're not going to solve that problem for every single central bank around the world. We're very targeted. We found great interest in some of the smaller central banks around the world that are looking for a strategy, looking for a partner, looking for a technology, a side blockchain, ideas about how to go about this. So we had our first MOU signed with the Kingdom of Bhutan in my neck of the woods back in Asia. Palau is an example, but we're in conversations with dozens of central banks around the world, trying to figure out the best way to help them across its goal.
They want to use XRP or Ripple Labs or to develop it?
They want to use technologies that will help them help their own citizens. And so we don't believe there's any one solution for all these central banks in this technology across the world. There's places we can play. There may be a side chain to the XRP ledger. We may help in the interoperability across this, but it's going to be different in every single central bank.
You guys have weathered a lot of noise over the last couple of years. What does 2023 look like for the organization and the uptake of XRP and Ripple in general?
Sure. Well, we're excited about 2023. We'll continue to hire, but selectively. We're not naive to the fact that macro environment is continuing to be challenged. We'll continue to focus internationally. We've been doing that for some time. Brad, all of us are out there talking about that piece of it, so the international build will continue. We need to get our core business right and continue to grow that dramatically. And then focus, as I mentioned, on other important initiatives like CBDCs, carbon credits, and make sure that we don't get too distracted with too many new exciting things that would take away from kind of proving the use case in the big business. So, but it's a great way to start the year. And it's the 19th of January today. We are here at another conference last week in Switzerland, Davos this week. It feels like we're out of the gate strong with the agenda. Our teams are building and excited. And so I feel great about how the year's kicked off, despite the noise and macro and obviously very challenging environment.
At large, but again, if you just focus on companies that are solving real problems, certainly Ripple had a record 2022. We'd rather see crypto do well at large, but we had a great year, signed up more and more customers and more volume going through our payment rails.
And in terms of your outlook for 2023, we see a bit of a bump for Bitcoin in the crypto markets. Are you expecting that to continue, or is it just a little bit of false hope?
Well, I've tried to stay out of the short-term price prediction on all things Bitcoin, or crypto in general. I'm long-term very bullish because I think these are technologies that can solve real problems at scale. And I think when you have kind of new emerging technologies, not dissimilar than, frankly, the internet and kind of the dot-com bubble, sometimes the hype gets ahead of the reality. That comes into balance over time. But we shouldn't forget, really not that long ago, 21 years ago, Amazon during the dot-com bubble almost went out of business. So that the fact that you're seeing some changes in the crypto world, I think can be healthy to the long-term health of the industry.
But there's still some beef brewing among the crypto titans. Bloomberg's Sonali Bostic is joining us now with more on that. Sonali, you wrote a great profile of Mike Novogratz of Galaxy Digital last week, and the quote is essentially that he would like to punch both Sam Bankman-Fried and Barry Silbert in the jaw.
That is certainly what happened. The rest of the quote was along the lines of how his daughter wouldn't approve of something like that anymore. It's toxic masculinity baked in.
Violent person at all.
It's the wrestling vibe you get from Mike Novogratz. He said he's gearing up to fight again.
What's up, guys? It seems we are near the bottom, and there's no way but up in the crypto world, hence the beef between the titans. But does this finally show that the bull run is just around the corner or not? Well, let's find out. As always, welcome to Moneyside, your favorite crypto channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you get updates when we drop new videos. And don't forget to smash that like button. Remember, you can always leave a comment or a question in the section below.
From China's point of view, they want to get, they don't like the U.S. having this reserve currency because it gives us, a lot of leverage over, Iranian oil supply chains and all sorts of things like that. They don't want the renminbi to become a reserve currency, because then you have to open your capital account and you have to do all sorts of things that they really don't want to do. I think the euro, you could think of as, was in part a Chinese weapon against the dollar. The last decade hasn't quite worked out that way, but that was, China would have liked to see two reserve currencies like the euro. And even though I'm sort of a pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin maximalist person, I do wonder whether at this point Bitcoin is also should also be thought in part as a Chinese financial weapon against the U.S., where it threatens fiat money, but it especially threatens the U.S. dollar, and China wants to do things to weaken it. So it's sort of China is long Bitcoin, and perhaps from a geopolitical perspective, the U.S. should be a little bit be asking some tougher questions about exactly how that works.
So back in the early days of PayPal, and this is going back to 1999, so it's almost 20 years ago. We actually, our first T-shirt said, PayPal, the new world currency. And so there was this idea that we were going to create this new global currency.
Many people don't know this, but the mission of PayPal was to create a global currency that was independent of interference by these corrupt cartels of banks and governments that were debasing their currencies. And we succeeded at building something very economically very powerful, enabled many small businesses. We're super proud of it, but we never achieved the mission. That I don't think it is solved by PayPal, precisely for the reason that you brought up in the Venezuela case, where PayPal is simply too centralized and too attached to the big financial institutions, Visa, MasterCard, the ACH networks, the SWIFT network, and it will do whatever it needs to do to keep those institutions happy. It doesn't solve the problem. And I think with its current success, the current management, they're not going to go push the mission of the company forward. That was what we wanted 20 years ago. So somebody else has to do it. Not to mention it was the wrong crypto foundation, but that's a different story.
And so why didn't you guys foresee this and build something that would solve the problem?
Well, we tried. When we were building the company, initially, Max Levchin, he started working on his thesis in cryptography. As my co-founder at PayPal, he researched Chaumian blind anonymous digital currencies, and then we said that didn't think that was going to quite work. It was too centralized, and it wasn't quite anonymous. Then I think we just never figured out quite the right algorithm, and we were pressured by investors to just get the product out. This is part of the problem of taking investment money prematurely. I wonder what would have happened if Matt's just been able to sit around and brainstorm and work on the idea, and we could all talk about the mission, and maybe we could have figured out an algorithm that was more like the modern crypto algorithms, which I'm so grateful for.
Should 100 billion converted would be enough to cover once the XRP service scales to a global scale, or would there be a bonus?
Well, so when XRP was created, this actually was created before Ripple existed. The creators of XRP decided it would be 100 billion units because they saw it as rather than have a smaller number with a very high price, they saw it as something they wanted to be effectively a global reserve currency.
Yeah, fantastic. So my question is on cross-border payments, and you talked about the inefficiency of banks maintaining deposits with correspondent banks around the world, and how inefficient this is. But how easy would it be for to set up some kind of platform for exchange of CBDs, different CBDCs? Is that something that you've looked at in this report? How easy would that be? My second question is, do you imagine, just in terms of the differentiation between wholesale CBDCs and retail CBDCs, do you think that that the wholesale CBDCs will launch first and then retail ones will come later because they're perhaps more difficult or complicated? Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. The answer to your first question. So your first question was on multi-CBDC platforms. Does the chapter examine the operation of these multi-CBDC platforms? The answer is yes. And in fact, we actually draw on on a number of trials actually that's going on in the BIS Innovation Hub in partnership with our member central banks. So just to mention two, there's one that is run out of the Hong Kong Center of the Innovation Hub. It's called Project M-Bridge. So M being the multi-CBDC platform, and bridge, in the sense of, bridging. Then there's another experiment run out of a Singapore center that's called Project Dunbar, and each one of them has the BIS together with 4 other central banks that are, forming these common platforms. And the way that these platforms work is to use distributed ledger technology, but using real names. So what we do is, clearly, if you don't have, as in crypto, this device of hiding behind the private key, you have to use real names. And if you use real names, you cannot simply post all the transactions for everyone to see, because, that would violate privacy. So the way that these DLT platforms work is that there is a distributed ledger technology where you can prove that the token you're transferring is genuine, that you actually have the funds. And you can do it by proving the provenance, if you like, the origin of your token, by using, cryptographic techniques like zero-knowledge proofs to show that it actually derives from a valid history of past transactions, without revealing what exactly the transactions are. So it's a very constructive use of cryptography. And using that, what you can do is you can just, you can form smart contracts, you can transfer, you can bundle them, so that you have, atomic settlement where the house is transferred if and only if the money is transferred. So you don't need an escrow account and so on. So what this type of system enables you to do is to avoid the current practice, which is to say, if I want to make a payment to a, on behalf of my client to a supplier, on another continent, what you need to do is to hold a deposit in a bank in that jurisdiction, ideally, and then just call up the bank and say, look, debit my account and credit the account of the supplier. And if you don't have an account, you have to use a correspondent bank. And if you don't even have a correspondent bank with a deposit in that jurisdiction, you need to string along a whole host of different correspondent banks. Now, for that system to work, you need to hold balances at all of these different parts of the chain. And in a way, it's going back to the origins of supply chain financing, where the credit function and the payment function all are bundled together. And so it's incredibly intensive in terms of liquidity, and there are the operational challenges all along the chain. What this kind of platform can do is to just short circuit all of that. And of course, what you would need to do is, of course, convert some of your deposits into tokens. Yeah. So you cannot avoid tying up some of your deposits somewhere, but you can just do it once. And let's say just hold it in London. And then the tokens can circulate everywhere, without having to, lock up liquidity at different points, around the world, together with all the other problems that go along with that. Now, how far are we from seeing these things in action? Well, we've done experiments and they work. What we need to do is to make sure that we can actually build this to scale, and build it so that they have the resilience that will really, stand the test of, real world use. But the technology is pretty clear, and this is not experimental technology. Public key cryptography is when you go onto your web browser. It's you can see when you're paying with your credit card that you have a secure connection. That's exactly the same type of public key cryptography that we're using with these payments. On your second question, wholesale and retail, which will come first? I think what we're seeing is that they are moving together. There are some jurisdictions like China, which have already, they're already in trouble.
Well, in the current era, investors are confused about crypto and blockchain. Most people are now worried if crypto will go to the moon, or the year just started with a bull trap since Bitcoin retracted back to the 22,000s. But if you believe in the tech behind crypto and what it stands for, then you have nothing to worry about, especially when it comes to the future of this tech. Blockchain solves several problems in the fiat world, including allowing faster and secure money transfers globally. That hasn't always been the case in the fiat world. Additionally, only a few companies had the monopoly of cross-border transfers, making this type of transaction quite expensive. But with the New World Order, crypto, it's now possible to make transfers to wherever, whenever. Granted, there are companies that were first in the game when it comes to cross-border payments, such as PayPal, but they didn't really perfect their network. Then along came crypto, which is virtually impenetrable. Ripple uses its own blockchain and token to offer incredible packages to its partners, including cross-border payments and on-demand liquidity. More importantly, this company is currently working on new cutting-edge tech to improve their services to their customers. It doesn't get any better than this. Unfortunately, thanks to the negative press, the general public doesn't believe in this crypto. Most people who haven't read its mission and white paper literally think Ripple isn't the right company to partner with. But if you take 10 seconds to better understand what Ripple is trying to achieve, you will immediately become a member of the XRP army. Thankfully, the case is about to end and the SEC will finally get what's coming to them. Ripple will continue to flourish, hopefully in the United States as well. This company has made tremendous strides outside the state, and that could potentially push them to move their headquarters to another country. However, Ripple and its defense team are playing the long game. Now, what do I mean by that? Ripple is trying to defend the whole crypto community with this case. They want to ensure there are clear regulations on how they should conduct business in the US. This will help other crypto companies follow the rules, because as far as Ripple is concerned, no crypto company wants to break any rules. Unfortunately, the SEC has been slow at creating clear rules, and that's what will hurt the future of crypto. Anyway, what do you think? Will Ripple win this case? And can we finally wait for XRP to reach its new all-time high? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, trade safely, guys. We offer prayers for the victims of the earthquake in Turkey and in Syria. Please keep in mind, we're not a licensed financial advisor. All videos on this channel are intended for entertainment purposes only. Let us know what you think in the comment section below, and let's have a conversation. As always, we thank you for watching. Couldn't be here without you. Don't forget to like this video. Please click on that subscribe button below and turn on notifications. That way you get updates whenever we drop new videos. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next Money Side.